I think about lions that just missed the hunt, and they don't lay down and go, "Ugh, I'm such a terrible lion. I can't believe I suck so bad." 80% of the time they screw up. 80% of the time they don't catch their meal, right? Can you imagine failing 80% of the time? No lion is out there just beating themselves up going, "Gosh, I'm just a terrible lion. I can't believe I'm so bad." No, they lay down immediately and take a nap. They're like, "All right, well, I guess I better save up for next time." Yeah. So to me, there's a lot that humans can learn from the animal world of just going, okay, that's outside of my control. I will learn from it and do better next time.
This is StRest. I'm Kerstin Lindquist, health coach, author, and Emmy award-winning TV host. I've committed to helping people reduce stress through impressive health science, attainable mindset change, and biblical truth. Let's have a real conversation with zero judgment and endless solutions that you can use. You aren't alone. You can do this. Let me help you reduce stress and make room for rest.
So I will say, just kind of vulnerably, this episode of StRest really got me to question everything that I do, because I've been talking to you for years about reducing the bad stress and increasing the good stress. And this next doctor that we have on the episode, on the show, is going to basically tell you that was wrong. I mean, not completely. Everything we talk about is very, very valuable, but it's not that stress is bad. And if we can rewire our mindset to think of all stress as being beneficial to us in some way, that's how we are going to live our best lives. She's going to give us a 3-step process. We're going to talk about cortisol. We're going to talk about breathing. We're going to talk about food. We're going to talk about all of the modalities that we do and whether or not those are good or bad. We're going to talk about grief. We're going to talk about pharmaceuticals and supplements. She is a stress doctor, Dr. Rebecca Heiss, a stress physiologist. She's also a keynote speaker, and she draws on her deep expertise in biology and human behavior to help individuals and organizations transform fear and stress into powerful tools for growth. She uses science-backed technologies. She's going to give us all the great studies that I love and how they can work for you. This really is going to be a huge mindset change. I know it was for me, and I cannot wait for you to meet this just energetic and bubbly, wonderful doctor, Dr. Rebecca Heiss.
Stay with us. There's so much more to come.
I'm super into the research right now when it comes to creatine and collagen. In fact, let's talk creatine for a second. And the one that I trust happens to be Ancient Nutrition. Research shows that women naturally have 70 to 80% lower creatine stores than men, which means we're ideal candidates for it. And collagen, we know, is important not only as a protein, but it's also great for joint health. And I've been feeling the joints a little bit more. I'm in my 40s. I have that cold shoulder, women's 40 thing, that there's a lot of different things we can do, but it's really important to pump up your collagen. So I'm doing the two together, collagen and creatine, and there's actually a new product from Ancient Nutrition that puts the two of those together. Creatine is one of the most clinically studied supplements, and it's a game changer for women's wellness. It supports cognitive health. That's what I love the most about it. Muscle endurance and recovery, and it helps you build long, lean muscles and strength while staying sharp. And then you pair that with clinically studied collagen, which is what we get from all of our Ancient Nutrition products, and that can help you improve your joint comfort, your mobility, and your recovery. I take it right after a workout in the morning, and I still also love multi-collagen proteins and those peptides in my coffee every morning as well. So support your brain and your body and your beauty every single day with Ancient Nutrition, so you can look toned, you can feel strong, and you can stay sharp. Here's what you do. You go over to ancientnutrition.com and put in the code STREST20. That's STREST20, STREST20 at checkout, and you'll get 20% off site-wide. Get your collagen, get your creatine, get your Ancient Nutrition. Dr. Rebecca Heiss, I'm so thrilled to have you here. You are the closest thing I've ever had to just basically a stress doctor on the show.
That's what I am. That's what I do. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
It's perfect because this entire podcast is to help people reduce the bad stress, increase the good stress, because we know there's resilience out there that's important. And you are trained in this. Give people a little bit of your background.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a stress physiologist by trade. So I have a PhD in stress physiology. What that means is that I help people understand what is happening in their body with their hormones, their brain, everything that's going on when we are under stress, and help them to shift our stress mindset a little bit to make all stress that good stress that you're talking about.
I love that. Make
Yeah.
all stress the good stress.
Right. And actually, let me pull back. I said that, and now I want to change what I said, because really what I want to do is eliminate the labels of good stress or bad stress. It's just energy, right? It's just energy that our body has. And now we get to do something with it. That's the key. Recognizing it's just energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So along those lines, what are some of the things that you think people need to know, like myths about stress that we need to debunk?
That's the big one right there, is like good stress, bad. Listen, there are bad stressors, like you got a terrible diagnosis, or you are going through a divorce, or those are negative stressors. But stress, the experience that we have as a result of those stressors, isn't good or bad. And so I think one of the biggest myths we have in the wellness industry is that we have to get rid of our stress. And the truth is, A, we don't have control over that. You can't get rid of it. It's a physiological normality that actually can help us and serve us when those bad stressors hit us. And so rather than trying to push against that, instead, my ask is that we welcome stress in and use it to our advantage.
Why does it feel like we round 40 and stress is either increased or harder to deal with? What is it? Dig into that for me.
Yeah, my guess on that is it's the way our brain pathways form, and we now feel more responsible because, like you said, probably the people that are listening right now, we're in between this. I have to take care of my parents. I might have kids that I'm taking care of, and we lose a sense of self in that time, even as we're being hit with this midlife. Oh my gosh, this is it. This is all I've got. And so I think it's really easy for stressors to hit us a little bit differently in those times. So yeah, I think that's what's going on. Although I'll tell you, from the science, we don't really know. It's not like our brain chemistry is shifting, other than perhaps with menopause in women. Although, and again, I hate this, but science, we have not caught up to this. Like, we have not done enough studies in the physiology of women, particularly as they age. So there's a lot happening at this later stage, and from a I don't know, just from an evolutionary background, right? Like, we weren't meant to live much past 20, 30 tops. Really. I mean, really, like if you made it past 30, that was an absolute miracle. Into the early 1900s, right? And now, that's the start of life. That's the very beginning. You're hoping to live three times that. So I think our brain and biology is still trying to figure out what is happening at this middle age, later in life time.
So what I often say is that we have a harder time metabolizing stress as we get, deeper into 40s, 50s, because if you look at, like, again, first man or back in the day,
Yeah.
this was a time when we slowed down. We stopped with the careers, we stopped with the babies. We might be caring for our aging parents, but it was a slower time.
Mm.
And so perhaps our bodies and brains have shifted towards that. And yet now at 50, people are starting new careers, going back to school,
That's right.
having babies.
Yeah. There was no such thing as that. I mean, really, like,
No.
when I tell you, like, we didn't live past 30, this is like a very bizarre time. Yeah, absolutely. I think you're spot on, Kirsten. Yeah.
So what do we do? I know you have a book, Springboard, that you talk
Yeah.
about working this. What do we do? Give me some of your advice and tips.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is stop trying to resist stress, right? Trying to get rid of it from your life, because what ends up happening, and my research from last year shows that we actually increase our stress trying to get rid of stress.
Oh,
Because
say
it's
that
just,
again.
yeah, we actually increase our stress trying to get rid of our stress. It creates this awful cycle. And especially in women, we see this. Women have this to-do list, and we're responsible for so much. We've got to do this and take that and make sure the laundry's done and have our career and take care of the kids and all of these things. And I have to reduce my stress. So I have to go to yoga and I have to do this. And we end up, even self-help becomes self-harm, because it's one more thing that we have to do. And so my first tip is, I call it inviting the tiger in for tea. because our brain and our body knows stress as one thing. And that one thing is a life and death situation. It's like getting chased by a tiger through the savannah or through the jungle. That is what we're responding to every time we get a ping or ding on our email, or our kids are screaming, or we're not sure if the facility is calling for mom. It feels as if a tiger is chasing us. And rather than try and resist it or run away from it, which our research finds has much worse outcomes, it should be our job to invite it in and say, okay, I feel you. I feel this energy. What can I do with it? Right. So the first thing is to stop the resistance. You want me to keep going with the second step? I'll walk you through the three steps. Yeah.
No, I love that you pause there, because that right there can be the hardest. When the anxiety comes, when the stress starts to build up, every single person I talk to says, well, I just push through it.
That's right.
Nobody stops.
That's right. This is a fight, flight, freeze response, right? And it's really natural. The ask really, one of my favorite quotes is from Dr. Robert Sapolsky. He's another stress physiologist. And his quote is, our stress response is built for 3 minutes of screaming terror, because you're literally getting chased by a tiger, right?
You're right. That's what you would do.
Yeah. After which it's over. It's over because you're dead, right? Or you outran the tiger. Either way, it's over. And the reality is, it's not in the modern day. And humans are the only ones that actually create stress through our thoughts, through our thinking. And so it's not just the stressor, it's then the thinking about the stressor and the things that we're going to have to do and the things that are going to compound. And so the first step, and it is so hard, is to sit in it and say, okay, tiger, I see you, and you're not going to kill me. Just that recognition that it's not a life and death situation in the next 3 minutes means that all of that energy, all of that physiology that we're getting as a stress response, we can then begin to direct differently toward energy, toward a solution. But yeah, it feels very much life and death in that moment.
So let's take that into an actual situation. I had this just the other day with the client. She gets very anxious on any appointment. It could be good, it could be bad, just like something about it. Oh my goodness, I get anxious and upset. So stopping and saying, I see you meeting. I see you appointment.
That's right.
You're not going to kill me.
That's it. That's exactly
Pausing for a second and even saying it verbally, writing it down, exhaling it out.
Invite that tiger in for a cup of tea. Sit down with it. And then the second question, once you recognize that it's not life and death, right? That is the biggest step, is that like those first 3 minutes, allow yourself to feel the fear. It's okay. Rather than push it aside, Kerstin, like rather than have your client go, okay, this is dumb. I shouldn't be thinking this. I should not be thinking. It's just an appointment. It's fine. No. Bring it in. Go, oh gosh, I'm really anxious about this. It's fine. For 3 minutes. And I have people set a timer. Stress out of your gourd for 3 minutes. That's fine. But when the timer dings, okay, now it's time to recognize you didn't die. So this isn't an actual tiger. Now what do we do? Now how do we use this energy differently? And so that second step is really the curiosity phase, because curiosity and fear cannot coexist. So there's literally no brain mechanism in our brain that allows those two things to coexist at the same time. So if we are in fear, we can't be curious. And if we are in curiosity, we can't be fearful. So this removes the fear from the stressor. Right? When we start to get curious, we can begin to transfer this energy. So I would then, with your client, we can just continue this pathway. Yeah. I've allowed myself to stress out for 3 minutes. Now, I wonder what will happen when I get to the appointment. I wonder how I'm going to feel as I'm sitting in the waiting room. I wonder what the best outcome can be. Just lots of I wonder questions. Even like, I wonder how awful it's going to be. Even that, which sounds very fear-based. Because we're staying in curiosity, it allows our brain to process it differently. And in this moment, this is where people get the stress response completely wrong. I think this second step is the one that is the most challenging to get right, because people try to calm down.
Yeah.
Look, like, I don't know, last time I told my adrenal glands not to release adrenaline, like, hey, y'all, this isn't helping, please stop. You know, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So we don't actually have control over how heightened we get. And again, this compounds the stress when we try and calm down and then we can't. And we're like, oh gosh, I'm broken. You know, there's something wrong with me. I can't seem to calm down.
Right. Because then the shame and the guilt spiral starts. And then that makes you more stressed out.
Exactly. So the goal here instead of trying to calm down, there's two ways that emotion works. It's the height of the emotion, the arousal level, which is what we're talking about now. You can't calm down, but you can choose the balance, the emotional balance. So think of this as an XY axis. The Y axis, the up and down, that's the arousal level. We don't get to try and calm down. What we do get to choose is the meaning of this arousal level. We're in a high arousal state. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Is this anxiety? Is this excitement? Is this joy? And the stress itself, the physiology itself, doesn't determine that. So one of the examples I'll give you, I have a dear friend who's been trying to adopt for years, and it's been such a journey. And
It's so hard.
it's been so like,
Yeah.
I had no idea. And I was headed to her house for just as a catch-up call. And, normally I knock on the door like normal people do. This time she comes busting out the door, like meets me in the driveway screaming, like, we got a baby, we got a baby, we got a baby. And I was wearing my Whoop band, my little like heart monitor band.
Me
and
too.
I looked at, there you go. Shout out to Whoop. I hope you get some sponsorship dollars.
No, right?
And I looked at my Whoop data later, and I had this massive stress spike. I mean, like 15 minutes where I am in a high heart rate. Like when you look at it, it looks like I was running at full tilt. And it was simply my excitement in that moment. So this is the power of balance, of choosing, is this an adventure or is this an ordeal? Can I find some way that this can be exciting rather than horrifying, like anxiety producing? So again, like in that moment, it was exciting. In
So
another
let me ask
moment,
you this then. So, but does your body know the difference when you choose? Because stress can be harmful to our bodies, but then does that mean that excitement can as
my
well?
gosh, I love this question so much. So this is probably my favorite research of all time, because our bodies respond differently to the stress depending upon the label we put on it. So this is huge. When you think about putting a label just with your mind, this is helpful or this is harmful, that changes massive outcomes in how your body responds to it. So this was a study done in 2013. It looked at 30,000 Americans for 8 years. And there's two things that they really honed in on. The first was, do you believe that stress is bad for you? And the second was simply their relative levels of stress. So here's the results. People with very high levels of stress, I'm looking at all of you, right? All of us, right? Very high levels of stress, who believed that stress was bad for them, died at significantly higher mortality rates, 43% higher mortality rates. Now, you and I are looking at each other going, that makes sense. This is all we hear. Stress is bad for us, right? We've got to get rid of it. It's really bad for us. Here's the kicker. People with the same very high levels of stress, who believed that stress wasn't bad for them, had the lowest mortality rates of the entire study, lower than the people who had very low levels of stress. So it's not the stress that's killing us. It's the belief that stress is bad for us that's killing us. That's mind-blowing. And we can see the physiological effects of it. Like when you're having a stress response and you say to yourself, I'm excited, or this is my body preparing me to perform, preparing me for the task that I have to do. Even if it's not something I want to do, it's my body preparing me for it. When you simply say that to yourself, and by the way, even if you don't believe it, right? Because I know there's situations where I'm like, this is bad. And I still say to myself, like, I don't even believe myself. What you see is your body actually responds differently. So rather than your blood vessels constricting, they expand and allow more flow of oxygen and blood to your brain to think more clearly, to your muscles to move more clearly. It's an incredible response. So that is a choice that we get to make, and it's pretty powerful.
This is why I love this podcast. I mean, and I don't know how many people know this. I created the podcast because my mom, obviously, but then I had an idea for a book about how to get, health science and biblical truth called StRest. And I was like, well, I'm going to do a podcast so I can get doctors like Dr. Rebecca on to teach me so that I can disseminate it into preschool level and talk to people about it. This is amazing. Mind blown.
Isn't it?
Because I'm always trying to, we got to get rid of the stress. We got to get rid of the stress. No, Let's not get rid of it. Let's shift the way we think about it. Okay, but diving a little bit deeper,
Yeah.
geekier.
I
So
love
then
it.
what about the concept of eustress versus stress? Because we do categorize it into good and bad stress.
Sure. Yeah. So again, I think the eustress versus distress, and this is based on the Yerkes-Dodson curve, right? That normal curve where it says like very little stress in your life is not good for you. You have to have this optimal amount. And then there's like some good stress that like helps you get out of bed. And then if it's too much, you can fall into distress. So I'm gonna answer this by asking you a question. When do Olympic athletes break world records?
They're under major stress, right? Yeah.
There it is. And I think this concept of labeling the stress itself as good or bad is misconstrued. The stressor might be good or bad, right? My friend is getting a baby. Oh my gosh, that's a good stressor, you know? Or my friend is getting a baby. That can be a bad stressor. It depends on how we label it, right?
Yeah.
And so really the eustress distress concept is in our heads. And I think it's really, really important to not believe that too much stress falls into this distress category because it doesn't have to. And I'm not trying to be Pollyanna-ish about this, right? Like there's some awful diagnoses that people get every day.
Absolutely.
You do not have to believe that is like, I'm just going to go and get excited about this terminal diagnosis that I have. That's not my ask, right? That's not my ask. My ask is to sit in it for 3 minutes. Even if it's a terminal diagnosis, that's a real tiger, but it's not going to get you in the next 3 minutes. So what that means is that energy that you have can be used and pointed in a direction that serves you, where you can run toward the roar, where you can start challenging the things that you need to challenge rather than hiding, deflecting, moving away from, and avoiding the stressor.
Wow. I hope this is opening you up and giving you permission to go after your stress as opposed to feeling a victim of your stress.
That's so powerful. I'll add to that, Kerstin, if you don't mind, because again, I just said my favorite research, but I'm gonna counter myself again because my favorite research, there's so much good stuff out there on stress. But one of my favorite studies looked at stress and meaning. So, look, I turned 40 not so long ago. Hard to believe.
Congrats.
Hard to believe. I know.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. But like when I turned 40, I was like, oh my gosh, what even is the meaning of life? Am I living up? Like we all have those existential crises. And one of the research papers that I really dove into in this moment looked at what makes for a most meaningful and purposeful life. And the number one correlate to a meaningful, purposeful life was stress. So past stressful events, current levels of stress, and even future worry and anxiety were most highly correlated to meaningful and purposeful lives. So that should give you a lot of hope. If you are sitting there stressed out of your gourd, just recognize that stress is a barometer for how much we care. Stress is a barometer for really charging after a meaningful and purposeful life. Like, that's pretty powerful.
That is super powerful.
Yeah.
So let's walk back to you can get stressed out trying to reduce your stress.
Yeah.
Because I tend to give people so much information. We're on twice a week. There's newsletters. I'm like you, like I love the research. So I'm sending.
Yeah.
And then I'll start talking to people and they get concerned about, okay, well, I'm cold plunging, I'm saunaing, I'm fasting, I'm doing all of these things.
That's right.
Girl,
and
I will tell you,
I'm doing
the whoop,
yeah.
But I was also doing aura. I was like, which one is right? And there's times when the stuff can be too much, but at the same time, these are all kind of resilience builders, good stress.
Sure. And look, I think I've already admitted I use data trackers. I love this kind of stuff. And I recognize in myself, if I wake up and I feel refreshed and I'm like, oh, that was a great night's sleep. And then I look at my data and it says, you had a terrible night's sleep. I'm like suddenly tired. Right? I'm suddenly like, oh gosh, yeah, I really did have a bad night. So I think recognizing the flexibility of our brain and how much of a storyteller our brain is. Start paying attention to the stories that you're telling. Beginning with stress is bad for me. That's like the number one story I want to change for all of your listeners right now. Stress isn't bad for you. Stress isn't bad for you. Stress means you're living a purposeful, meaningful life. In fact, the study that I just shared with you, I want I want to put that into context because, as we're doing all the things and we're cold plunging, we're doing all the things we're supposed to do, and it still just doesn't feel like we're getting anywhere. This is a follow-up that I did with that last study because it didn't sit well with me because I'm thinking, I could be pretty relaxed and live a meaningful, purposeful life if I'm just cold plunging and hanging out, sipping Mai Tais in Hawaii. Like that feels like a pretty meaningful life to me. So I asked this question. I'll ask it of you and your listeners. I want you to think of a project or an accomplishment that you're most proud of.
Mm-hmm.
You have it? Now go
Yeah.
back in time to when you were in the middle of that project. What was your stress level?
Super high.
There it is.
Right.
So if the project is you, even if the project is you and you're like, oh, I'm cold plunging, I'm doing the things, and I'm stressed about it. Good. What that means is that you are actually sitting in it. You're running toward the roar. That's the trajectory you've set. You're actually moving into the stress and allowing it to serve you rather than having it hold you back.
So true. You just put words to something I was trying to describe years ago. We love to go to the beach. Like I feel the happiest on the water, on a boat. My HRV is better for those of you who track. I mean, all of those things. Like it's just the best. But I realized what I wasn't really wanting was an endless time on a boat or at the beach, was possibly to be in that type of surroundings, but doing something meaningful. So when we left to go be missionaries for half of the year, we went someplace where we could be in warmer weather.
Yeah.
But
yeah, nothing wrong with that.
we weren't sitting on a beach drinking Mai Tais.
Oh my
We
gosh.
were serving. And honestly, it was a very good stress time. I mean, we were working at a medical clinic. We were aiding in saving lives in a very poverty-stricken area. And we were the happiest. And my HRV was the highest it's ever been.
Okay, so wait, I my third favorite study of all time. Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
You just nailed it. So looking at workplace interventions, like all of the things that we try, we meditate, we do coaching, we do better night's sleep, whatever, we do cold plunge, 90 different workplace interventions, right? For stress. None of them worked. Like several of them made stress worse, with the exception of one thing: service to others.
Yes.
Service to others was the only thing that mitigated stress. And I think one of the things that we forget about as we are stressed is that our stress response, one of the most magical things about the stress, we talk about cortisol all the time. We don't talk about oxytocin. And oxytocin is the second biggest stress release hormone. It is the hormone of cuddles and love and courage to seek out and ask for help and to offer help to others. So under stress, our body is begging us to go find people to commune with, to help other people, to get help from other people. And so service to others is the number one way to mitigate your stress.
So if you're that person, because I've heard you talk to me before and say, I'm under so much stress, I'm a mess, I'm overwhelmed, but I have this desire to help other people in the same type of situation that I'm in. And I say to you, yes, go serve. But how can I serve, Kerstin, when I'm a mess myself? That's when you really should be serving.
That's it. I'm telling you, Kerstin, there's a reason that I'm a stress physiologist. Everybody is like, oh, you must have zero stress in your life. I'm like, exact opposite. I'm so stressed out all the time, which allows me this incredible trajectory to serve others in it, right? To use that energy to say, okay, here's what we can do with it. So I think that's exactly the advice that you should be offering. That's fantastic.
And we also know it's one of the cornerstones to our health and wellness: how you eat, how you sleep, how you move, and relationships and spirituality. You have to be a part of community. And the way that you get into community, the easiest, the best, the fastest, is by sharing your story.
So true. I can't tell you how many times I say, my story is your story is my story. We may not have the exact same stressors at the exact same time, but I guarantee you, when you peel back that curtain and open your heart and expose yourself a little bit, like vulnerably, other people will see that and feel safe and go, oh, you're going through a divorce. I've never gone through a divorce, but I've lost a child. You've lost a child. I've never lost a child, but I'm currently, in the midst of taking care of my parents, and I don't know what my next step. Like we're so human, and our emotions are so contagious that when we are willing to be like a little bit fearless. And I'm not saying fearless, right? But like fearing other people less, allowing them to protect us and feel safe in their presence by opening up and saying, look, I'm really stressed out. This is what's going on. They can then serve us in a way that actually serves them.
Good.
Yeah.
Fearless is your company, right? That's what you do.
Yeah, that's my brand. That's my brand. It's about fearing a little bit less in the fear. Yeah.
Because we are embracing it as
Right.
opposed to just pushing it away.
Run at that roar. Run towards those tigers. Yeah.
So we've taken the 3 minutes to scream it out, to see it, whatever it is that we
Feel
need
it,
to do.
yeah.
And then after that, we get creative in our thinking of, okay, asking the questions, what if questions and things like that.
Transferring that energy. Yeah.
Is there a third step?
There is, and actually we already covered it. It's the trajectory.
good.
Yeah, it's the
Okay.
trajectory. So again, instead of running away from the stressor, the trajectory is running toward it in a way that serves others. Because
Great.
when we serve other people, we're actually serving ourselves. Yeah.
What about that balance, or what's the difference between stress and anxiety?
So technically in our bodies, not much. Anxiety is really future focused. So one of the things that I talk about a lot in coaching is if you think about your stress response, depression is past focused, anxiety is future focused, and the stressor currently is just your stressor. So, I think stress shows up on a timeline differently, but that anxiety is a really interesting one because again, humans are weird. We're the only creatures on earth that we know of anyway that have this stress about things that haven't happened or don't even necessarily have the potential to happen. So that is stress caused specifically by our own thinking. And we're unique like that. There's a reason zebras don't get ulcers. There's a reason that and I do look to the animal world a lot for this kind of advice. I think about lions that just missed the hunt and they don't lay down and go, "Ugh, I'm such a terrible lion. I can't believe I suck so bad." 80% of the time they screw up. 80% of the time they don't catch their meal, right? Can you imagine failing 80% of the time? Like no lion is out there just beating themselves up going, gosh, I'm just a terrible lion. I can't believe I'm so bad. No, they lay down immediately and take a nap. They're like, all right, well, I guess I better save up
Refresh.
for next time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, there's a lot that humans can learn from the animal world of just going, okay, that's outside of my control. I will learn from it and do better next time.
I have heard you talk about that before, refilling. How do we refill? Because we do get, again, we're not going to label it as bad, but we do get to a point where we've gotten to the end of our rope.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the challenges is most of us haven't paused long enough to figure out what it is that does refill us. And so we do the things that we're quote unquote supposed to do. I'm gonna take a nap. I'm going to do this ice bath. I'm gonna do this cleanse. I'm gonna do the things so I can refill myself. And then they wonder why they don't feel refilled or refueled. And I think it's worth taking. And this is, I'll give you an extreme example. About 15 years ago, I bought a one-way ticket to Puerto Rico with a backpack and nothing else, no plans.
I
Zero.
love this story.
Yeah, this is I don't know. It was a little sketchy. I really had zero plans, and I got there and I was like, what do I want to do? And I'll be honest with you, it was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life because I had no idea. I was like, well, I should go for a hike. And I'm like, do I like hiking? I should eat a salad. Do I like salads? Is that something that it really forced me to deal with this idea of like, am I doing that for me or am I doing it because I'm supposed to or because somebody tells me to or because, and I think you can do that in a much smaller like mini version. You don't need to buy a ticket to Puerto Rico to figure that out. Although I highly recommend it.
Me too.
Yeah, it was great. But yeah, take an hour of time. Just set aside an hour of time specifically for you, just 1 hour a week. And maybe it's just sitting until you feel moved to do and pay attention to what that is. Even throughout the day, pay attention to what gives you energy and what drains you of energy. Like podcasts like this, I love them. I get so much energy from talking with people like this. So then I know when somebody asks me to do a podcast, I'm like, yes, definitely. But if somebody asks me to do a different task, then I'm like, ooh, I will do it, but I know it's a drain, right? pay attention to what those things are, because throughout the day, you might be surprised at what gives and what takes away, so that you can balance that out a little bit better by the end of the day.
I really feel that that is a good way to help you discover what your purpose is and where you should be. I
Yeah.
feel this, I felt this very acutely in the last year or so when I transitioned out of a job that I, on paper, loved. Like, I loved being on TV. I loved being at QVC, but it was extremely draining. Now, when I go on TV, when I'm on my podcast, it can be the same number of hours even, but I am so filled up and fired up because I really am getting built up and filled up from it, as opposed to it draining me.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, it's such an undervalued or underutilized skill to recognize what is filling and what is taking away. So I love that you are able to figure that out. I highly recommend your listeners do a little plus minus checkbook. Like, just grab a little notebook and throughout the day, this feels good, this is draining, this feels good, this is draining.
We'll be right back. Don't go away. It's just getting good.
On StRest, we talk a lot about supporting the systems in your life that hold you up, your habits, your routines, sleep, but that also includes your feet. Remember that song we used to sing, knee bone connected to the hip bone? That's not right, but you know where I'm going with this, right? It's all connected, and it starts with your feet. And if you're like me, you probably sacrificed comfort to style more times than you can count. I was able to join Revitalign when I worked at QVC to create really, really great shoes, flip-flops, sandals for you for many years. And now they are a sponsor of StRest. I love this brand. My entire family wears them. It's all about aligning your body from the ground up, literally, but also doing it with super cute styles. I wear them around the house, on long days of filming, even traveling, of course, down at the beach. And the difference is my body feels better at the end of the day. And that's what I want for you as well. Going into a new season, make sure you get yourself new, good shoes. And we have a discount for you. Visit WACO shoecompany.com. That's WACO shoecompany.com, and enter the code Kerstin, KERSTIN 20 for 20% off everything from really cute wedges to boots to sneakers. Get out there and get your sneakers. That's WACO Shoe Company, WACO shoecompany.com, and put in the code Kerstin20, KERSTIN 20. So you get 20% off and support yourself from the ground up. Are there any modalities that you do like, though, to help people kind of metabolize their stress? I mean, I was throwing out things like cold plunge and saunas or movement.
Movement is the number one. If I could prescribe walks or runs or jumping up and down or dancing, I'll tell you, I challenge you. When you have a stressful moment and you put on your absolute favorite, like mine is Whitney Houston. Like, I cannot
Really
say you want to dance. Don't you want to dance? Oh yeah. Like, come on. You cannot challenge you to stay stressed. Blast the tunes and you have to move your body. Like, move it. Like, really get into it. For 3 minutes, you're going to feel better at the end. Now, the problem's not going to be resolved. You're still going to have that stressor waiting on you. But you will have moved through that moment, and then you can start facing it head on. So yeah, I think movement is really, really powerful. It certainly works with our biology, getting those oxytocins and those endorphins moving. Movement with friends, even better, right? With people, finding people. And, for me, it's music and dance. So even though I'm a terrible dancer, I'll be straight with you. Like, it's bad, but nobody should walk in on me in my kitchen. Heaven forbid, right? But
you don't have to be good. You just do it all the time. My kids are like, Mom, please stop. I'm like, no.
I love it. And you know what? You're saying such a good example for your kids doing that. Yep.
What else? What are things that build resilience?
I think everybody has heard of PTSD, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And 8% of Americans struggle with PTSD. And I would argue that number is probably much higher. I think all of us have a little PTSD, because let me be clear, going through life is traumatic. Big T's, little T's, like huge traumas, small traumas. It's just traumatic to live life.
Yeah.
How do you bounce back? How do you continue to show up to your own life in that? One of the more powerful shifts we can make is PTG, which many people haven't heard of, but post-traumatic growth affects 50% of Americans. Now,
What is post-traumatic growth?
Post-traumatic growth, I'm so glad you asked. Post-traumatic growth is the growth that we have when we go through stress and trauma. And it shows up in 5 distinct ways. I really wish I had this. I'm gonna have to look at my book to get these right. But it is being closer to feeling like you're closer to a higher power, having more purpose and meaning in your life, feeling closer to your community, feeling more in touch with who you are. And there's one more.
Read the book. The book's called
there it is.
Springboard.
Great promo.
You got to get the book for number 5.
You would think I'd have this done. This was not my research. I wish it was. It was Tedeschi who looked at this post-traumatic growth disorder, just post-traumatic growth. And it's really, really fascinating. So these are 50% of the people who do nothing, but like who've had incredibly traumatic experiences, like loss of a limb, loss of a child, really major traumas, and say, I would not change a thing because of XYZ that has happened as a result. Now, we can actually work to build post-traumatic growth by doing specific things, by creating meaning making out of stories. Things like retelling the story in a way that it serves us. So for example, I'll give you one of my traumas. I was 8 years old and my house burnt to the ground. Now, truly, and I say this with like absolutely no strings attached, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. It really was. And I think because somebody must have walked me through this meaning making where I recognize, my family, nobody was hurt. The stuff, it's replaceable. It's stuff, right? My community showed up for me. The next day I went to school with clothes on my back. That night I had a place to sleep. A local farmer slaughtered a lamb so that we could have food. Like it was a small town, right? But everybody
where
came
did you
together.
live?
Upstate New York. I know.
Did you live
know.
in biblical times? This is amazing.
Seems like it, right? No, but seriously, like that is so powerful to recognize. Yes, it could be a really traumatic event. And here's all the ways that great things happened as a result. And I carry that in my heart every day, knowing I have my family, I have my community, I have people that show up, and that's a really powerful reminder. So this post-traumatic growth, I really strongly encourage all of your listeners to dive into it because it is a really, really powerful concept. Yeah.
And this is every single thing that you're talking about, doctor, goes back to a mindset shift.
It does.
My stress isn't bad is good. It is an opportunity or it is exciting, or let me be creative in what can happen. You're labeling your stress good and bad. And the post-traumatic growth, as opposed to, I look at the time when my mom died and the 10 years leading up because she was sick for so long.
Yeah.
Super traumatic for me. And I allowed myself to sit in that grief. Truly, I talk about the fact that it took my voice. Like I was in so much sadness and grief that I couldn't even speak, and I speak for a living.
Yeah.
I can look at that but I do, if I walk through and I talk through it, what we went through together, losing my mom, truly have used that and the Lord has used that for so much good. I would never say I want my mom to die.
No,
Absolutely.
No.
Never.
Right.
But I can see where I grew so much and I'm able to give back so much as a result of that event.
That's right. So you've experienced this post-traumatic growth where you've taken that trauma and you've turned it into something where you are now serving so many people as a result. Mm-hmm. There's a point there that I want to make too. So there's a concept, I'm sure you're familiar with it, learned helplessness, mm-hmm. where, people, actually the original study was done on dogs, and this is horrible. Please forgive me for even describing this, but there were 2 conditions. Like one was an escapable condition where the dogs were put under electric shock and they could like just hit this little button with their nose and the shocks would stop. And the other condition was an inescapable condition where they could hit it all they wanted, but the shocks would continue. And they took those 2 sets of dogs and then they put them in a second condition where all the dogs needed to do was jump over this really low barrier to safety to avoid the shocks on the floor. And of course, the ones that had control, where they hit the button with their nose and the shocks turned off, they all jumped over to safety immediately. But the dogs that had no control, who had hit the button repeatedly and the shocks had continued, they never even attempted to jump over the barrier. They just laid down and accepted the shocks. And this learned helplessness is something that I think applies perfectly to humans that are in these extended chronic stress moments where it's easy to just go, well, There's nothing I can do. This is just what it is. And I first of all want to give permission and love and acknowledgement to people that are in that state, because it is not learned. This is a mislabeled. This is not learned. This is an innate way that your brain shuts down to save you from putting in energy where nothing changes the outcomes. So like, give yourself some forgiveness around that. Give yourself some empathy that your brain is trying to just save you. And the antidote to this learned, I'm putting this in quotes, right? This learned helplessness is what I call learned hopefulness or hope potentiation. So hope potentiation is a reframing of the brain where we may not have control of the outcome. Your mom, she was going to pass, right? You knew there was a timeline, but hope potentiation says, what today? What is the small action that I can take today in this stressor that gives hope, that allows me to move in a direction that serves her, serves me, serves others? And I feel like you have done that throughout. I don't know your whole story, but you kept showing up, you kept moving, you kept trying this, you kept trying this. Rather than sitting back in this outcome-based space that a lot of us fall into with our own stress, right? Well, there's nothing I can do with my stress. It's just gonna affect me, and I'm, I'm in trouble. I'm just gonna sit back, and stress is always gonna be in my life. I guess this is just how it is. Rather than saying, what's the smallest action that I can take toward the stressor to try and challenge it, to try and move in it, that generates hope. And hope is a great antidote for this.
That's great. So hope is a wonderful antidote to stress, or to the idea that the stress in your life is bad.
Yeah, to feeling like you have no control. It gives you agency back to like, I have some control. I may not have control of the outcome, but I have control over how I feel in this moment and what I can do in this moment right now.
Do you, in your research, ever dive into cortisol? It's a question I get all the time from people. It's like, well, maybe we have to go after my cortisol, because
Yeah.
I think it's a buzzword right now.
Yeah, it is. It's a huge buzzword. Yeah, I've done a lot of work with cortisol, and here's what I'm going to tell you. Stop messing with it. First of all, stop. Stop, 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 stop. It is so variable, and it's so variable for so many reasons. Like, you do not, first of all, you don't want to get rid of your cortisol. You need
No.
cortisol. Cortisol is like, you have to have it to live. It's the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning. It's the thing that makes you seek meals. It's the thing that moves your body. You gotta have it. And depending upon when you measure it, morning cortisol, afternoon cortisol, baseline levels, you just had a cup of coffee levels, you just are a little bit dehydrated levels. There are so many variables that go into this. Stop messing with your cortisol. Instead, use your cortisol. Change the way you think about it. Cortisol isn't bad. This is a hormone that is being released by my body to help my body to perform. Olympic athletes have incredibly high cortisol levels when they're breaking world records. You will have incredibly high cortisol levels when you are contributing to your greatest achievements. Own it.
That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. I say that all and go see your medical practitioner. Just like giving the disclaimer, go see your medical practitioner if you're having like serious symptoms and side effects. There are conditions with too much cortisol over a very, very long period of time. You could have hypercortisolism or hypocortisolism. That's a disease state, and that is different than what I'm talking about here, and that is atypical. But yeah.
Yeah. What about sleep? What role does sleep play in all of this?
All right. So if I have to rank the things that you can do, change your mindset, move your body, get 8 hours of sleep. I have a great friend who's a Harvard psychotherapist, and he's brilliant. And he tells his clients, the first meeting, he's like, listen, I need you to go for the next 2 weeks, go get 8 hours of sleep every night. And if you're still having these problems, come back and see me. Like, that's how powerful sleep is. And again, this can be one of those things where people get into their heads. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting sleep. So I'm stressing out over the fact that I'm not getting sleep. Do the best you can, even if you're lying there in a quiet state, right? And you're not sleeping. That's okay. That counts. When you sleep, when you get into deep sleep, what your brain does, you have this blood-brain barrier, okay? And it prevents throughout the day all of the metabolic waste products, all of the garbage that you're putting into your body. It prevents it from getting into your brain. But in your brain's metabolizing, and there's metabolic waste products, and they build up inside your brain. So at night is the only time that blood-brain barrier expands to let out all of the garbage, all of the junk that your brain has built up throughout the day. And it's got to get it out. So if you're not sleeping, you're basically bathing in your metabolic waste products of your brain all day long. That's why sleep is so important. And you can get it in chunks, right? Like one of my other favorite studies is looking at napping, right? Napping. Oh my gosh, take a 20-minute nap. If you're addicted to caffeine like I am, have a cup of coffee, lay down for 20 minutes. The caffeine will kick in about 20 minutes, which is perfect. Wake you up from your nap and you're ready to go. And you'll get more tasks done. You'll be more creative. You'll be able to function and focus better. Like all of these things. When you say you don't have time for a nap, you need a nap.
You have to have a nap.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also love NSDR, non-sleep deep rest. Like that
Mhm.
is so like
Mhm.
I just
Yeah.
feel so great after 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like it's great stuff.
Yeah. And again, stop stressing about the fact that you're not getting it right. I can't tell meditation. It's great. So many people come and say, I can't do it. I'm not doing it right. My brain doesn't. You're doing it. Just, it's okay to not get it perfect. I don't get 8 hours of sleep. I don't get meditation right. It's okay. Stop stressing about these things.
So if we are stopping for the 3 minutes and then we're being curious and then we're directing it towards service, is there, because one of the first things that I would always think, okay, I'm super stressed out, stop, Kirsten, and breathe. Is there a place for breathing?
Sure. Yeah.
Is breathing useful?
Yeah. Breathing is
I mean,
useful.
it's useful, but
Yeah, breathing is useful. I really love a physiological sigh. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. Yeah, it's one of the most powerful ways to quickly reduce that cortisol. Again, not trying to calm down,
And tell
not
people what
changing
that
that.
is.
Okay, yeah. So
How
a
that works.
physiological sigh is you're going to take a really deep breath in through your mouth, and when you get to a point where you can't take any more in, you'll go and just sip in that last little bit. You'll hold your breath for count of 3 to 5, and then full exhale. What this does is throughout the day, when we breathe, when we get stressed out, we breathe really shallowly. And the alveoli, those little sacs at the end of our lungs, they start to collapse. And so we're only using the front end, the really top end of our lungs. So that little sip in pops open those alveoli and it allows all of that CO2 to get out of our body. So we're really resetting all of the diffusion and allowing our body to get a full breath. So that's huge in training our body and training our brains. Nobody is doing that when they're getting chased by a tiger. So this is a technique to go, okay, this isn't a tiger. So I would do that right after our first 3 minutes of screaming terror. So you're in that 3 minutes, you're like, it's not a tiger, it's not a tiger, it's not a tiger, it's not a tiger. Now, how do I get curious? That would be my space. Yep.
Yeah. I had somebody on the podcast. He was great, all about breathing, Curtis Lee Thomas. And he said, to do those types of breaths every time you go under a doorway. I was like,
Wow.
imagine how many times you'd be more, because we're so
conscious,
disconnected from our breath. We're
We
constantly holding our breath.
Yeah. And our breath is the only thing that connects our conscious and our subconscious minds, right? Because we breathe subconsciously all day long. Thank God for that. Because I don't know, I'd just be happy to breathe all day just thinking about it. Right?
Too.
But when we do take that conscious breath, it brings us back to this frontal lobe where we're making those conscious cognitive decisions. And then it is less of an emotional reaction of this, the tiger's going to get me, and going, okay, it's just an email. Let's charge forward with that email.
Yeah. What about pharmaceuticals?
Look, here's what I'll say about pharmaceuticals without getting myself in trouble. I think it is an individual decision, and I think it needs to be discussed with your provider. That's what I'll say. I don't want anybody to feel shame or blame or guilt about needing something to correct brain chemicals that are missing. It's important. It's important to get it right, and it is so hard because the medical complex is not built to serve individuals. It's built to serve this golden mean. And so, hopefully you're that average individual and what they prescribe you is going to work for you. And if it does, great. And if it doesn't, keep trying, but don't be surprised.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
If you're on them and you continue to have to up the dose or try different ones.
That's right.
So if it's not working for you, then continue to be curious
Yes.
and figure out.
Be an advocate for yourself. I think that's probably the most important thing that I can tell people is you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. Like this is natural. This is normal. If you have a broken arm, you go get it set. If you have a broken brain, you go get the padding to fix it. So yes, keep going, be your advocate and pay attention to what works. Just because, just because it works for somebody else doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
What about supplements?
I would say the exact same thing. So I just finished my creatine coffee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Way to go.
I'm a big fan, especially for women. Okay, I'll speak specifically to women of a certain age, like 40 to 60. Please, please, please go see a provider who specializes in menopause and perimenopause, because there is so much research happening in this field right now. We're really catching up. Honestly, we have not paid close enough attention to women in this time, and it is really, really important. Now, all the supplements and all the pharmaceuticals that we've been avoiding for years because of the cancer risks, there's been a lot of data that have come back and said, ooh, just joking, we probably really do need some supplementation here. So please, please, please don't be scared of hormone replacement therapy. Don't be scared. Please go see your provider and talk thoroughly through it. It's really important.
So for you, though, as a stress doctor at age 40 and a very energetic female.
A little bit higher than that, but we'll
Okay,
go with that. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah. Do you have supplements that you're like, I'm not going to be without, that work for you?
For me, honestly, here's my supplements: sunshine,
Yes,
exercise, meditation, massage, sleep, time with friends, and coffee in large amounts. Coffee and water. Yeah. And I will say, and creatine. And I started creatine the last 5 years, specifically as I've moved into perimenopause. Literally, that's it for me. But that's what works for me. And I just want to emphasize that, right? That is that's a me thing.
You're actually doing that. So we have the desire to be able to get everything we can from our world and our life and our food but we aren't taking the time to do it. So that means that Rebecca's actually going outside and getting sunshine as 100%. Opposed to stuck inside all the time. 100%. She's actually taking the time to go for a walk or lift weights. She's actually taking the time to meet with friends. And if you're not doing those things, then perhaps you do have to supplement.
Yeah. And I would say, please do those things first.
Please do those things first. You can't out supplement a bad lifestyle. You just can't. You can't have a horrible diet and a horrible lifestyle in the quote unquote horrible being, not serving your body, and then think I'm going to take a pill and it's going to fix it.
That's so true. Thank you for saying that. Yes. And I should have said healthy diet. I mean, I do eat really well, and I eat ice cream almost every day. So don't starve yourself either. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Super important.
And for her, ice cream works. For me, my body goes, are you kidding me? What just happened? So I know to avoid, I don't even crave it anymore, but I will have a piece of dark chocolate. Oh, I'm happy. Right. So I won't say no to that.
Good antioxidants in dark chocolate. Look at that. Nice. I could justify just about any dessert in case you all need some justification. That said, sugar is really a challenge for cortisol as well.
It is.
So I would say my rule is your taste buds will always lie to you. Your stomach will not. Pay attention to what your stomach is saying, not what your taste buds are saying. If it was up to my taste buds, I would eat glazed donuts 24/7, and my stomach would be,
wouldn't we all,
miserable. So.
As would her sleep, as would everything,
right.
It just throws all those things off. Any other things that you love? Like you said, you do movement. Are there any other health practices that are kind of non-negotiable for you? Mind, body, spirit.
Yeah. My biggest non-negotiables are, honestly, I have a nonprofit. I think it's really, really important to find ways to give back. I cuddle with my dogs a lot. So that's a big non-negotiable for me. I don't have kids myself. And so they've become that space that I pour into, which,
our kids.
It might be borderline unhealthy, I'll be honest with you. And
if that's your biggest unhealthy, we're fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And being outside. I mean, screen time can be really, really challenging. So that's the other non-negotiable is all screens are off an hour before I go to bed. So important. Our brain sees the screen, the light hits our eyeballs go, it's the middle of the day. How can you go to sleep? And it resets our circadian rhythm. So getting in a good night's sleep is all about turning the TVs off, turning their phones off, turning the computers off at least an hour before you go to sleep. Please, please, please put your phone outside of your bedroom. It's a game changer. Buy one of those old school alarm clocks if you need to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. It's one of the hardest ones to do. It's something that I talk about all the time, and it's the hardest thing for me too.
Yeah, it is, because I think we have this pseudo community on the screens, right? We've got that Instagram and our TikToks and our friends that are like connecting and texting us. Any friend is going to understand, like, you shut down at X time and it'll be waiting for you the next morning. But please don't let that be the last thing you look at and the first thing you look at. That's probably one of the most healthy things to adjust.
And sun before screens. Even my 9-year-old says that all the
Sun
time.
before screens.
Sun before
it.
screens. Although sometimes he'll say it at night. Mom, you got to put your phone away. Sun before screens. And I was like, babe, we're a little backwards. Like, that's the morning time.
Yeah, I love it.
I love that he's trying.
How old is your son?
He's 9.
You're doing great. Look at that.
Yeah.
You're doing great. Good for you. Yep.
So, oh my goodness, we covered so much. But what's one thing do you think everybody can take away that they can do today to help? Usually the question is, how do they reduce stress? But maybe my question for you is it how do they reframe it?
I mean, I think that's exactly it. I would ask people every time they feel stress, the one thing you can do is tell yourself, this is my body preparing me for success. This is my body. This is an enabling behavior that my body is preparing me to succeed in, rather than saying, this is debilitating, even if it's a lie to yourself. The other, one more piece I'll add is,
Please.
Our emotions are created a lot by our body. So if you're slumped over and you're like, oh gosh, I just really don't want to do this, what your brain reads is your body. So if you are stressed about something and you're just like tight and just instead, throw your shoulders back, put a smile on, even if it's fake, because your brain is looking to your body for somatic feedback and trying to interpret the signal that's happening. So it's having this physiological response. And if you're doing this and you're like, let's go, even though you're still going to be anxious, that's really important. You're still going to feel anxious. Your body can also make space for some excitement and for that shift in your reframing to allow you to feel the stress differently as enabling rather than disabling.
It's so, so good. The book is called Springboard.
There it is.
Tell us quickly what we're going to learn. Why do we need to read it?
Yeah, I mean, everything from today is going to walk you through the fearless stress formula, which is those 3 steps that I kind of detailed today. It's not a tiger, how to transfer the energy, and then how to point it along a trajectory that serves yourself and others. To me, it is a quick read. It is meant to be actionable and packed full of goodies, including like QR codes that you can, it's kind of fun, that you can use to see video and supplement your learning. So I hope that it's a great journey for everybody.
And then where can people find you?
You can find me at Dr. Rebecca Heiss. That's Heiss on all of the socials. And my website is probably the best place to get to me. And that is just RebeccaHeiss.com. Feel free to email me, ask me questions. I will respond to you. It may take me a minute, but I will get back to you, I promise. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay, I have to ask, did your friend adopt the baby? Oh, praise Jesus.
Yeah, it's been incredible. It's been an incredible journey. So we're very, very,
that's the
very
best
special.
Payoff.
Right?
I know how hard that is. And so bless you for walking her down that path.
Oh, listen, it still brings me to tears to think about that moment. So
it's the best. It's the best. Doctor, you have, years of study and you've completely changed my brain space. So I'm so blessed by you. Thank you for being here.
Kerstin, thank you. It's been a true pleasure.
What if anxiety isn't your enemy? I know so many of you are dealing with it, which is why we're going to talk about it in the next episode of StRest. Anxiety, stress, panic, overwhelm, and why is it popping up even later in life, in middle age and past? You might never have had a problem with it before, but then all of a sudden you are. Maybe you're that person who is on a bunch of pharmaceuticals in order to take care of your anxiety, whether it be situational or all the time, and you just don't know how to get off of them. We're going to help you with all of that. Dr. Nicole Kane is on the next episode of StRest. She's the author of Panic Proof, and she joins us to share methods for what to do when anxiety shows up. Don't miss it. If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your reviews help others find the podcast and join our community. Follow me on social media at Kerstin.Lindquist for daily tips and inspiration. And visit my website at www.Kerstin-Lindquist.com to sign up for our newsletter and receive exclusive content.
The information provided in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions that you may have regarding a medical condition. The host of this podcast is a certified health coach and medical researcher, not a licensed medical professional, and the content shared does not constitute medical advice. While we strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information, we encourage you to do your own research and consult with your healthcare provider before making any changes to your healthcare treatment plans. Thank you for joining me on this journey to reduce stress and make room for rest. Remember, you're not alone. Keep coming back, share your story, ask for help, and give yourself grace.